Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
En otra religión diríamos noches buenas.
¿Cómo anda?
Bien, gracias a Dios. Un poco frustrado. Tengo un proyecto que estoy haciendo con el centro del VA y un poco
Sí,
frustrado en qué dirección debería llevar las cosas, pero es parte del proceso de ir
sí.
entendiendo qué es lo que tengo que ir haciendo. Ahí vamos.
Así que
¿Y tú?
usted es full time ahí en el VA? No.
Yo no, mitad time. Ya ellos quisieran que yo fuera full time, Mario. No, porque entonces me limita la oportunidad de ver a mis nietos, de estar con ellos y todo lo demás.
¿Cuántos nietos tiene?
Tengo dos,
Oh, nada más.
no más.
Yo tengo
Tengo un
10.
hijo y una hija, entonces mi hijo todavía no está casado,
Ah, yo tengo
entonces
10.
te felicito, más alto.
Ya son, me ven cuando quieren verme, porque ya son grandes.
Oh, no, los
El,
míos son chiquitos.
el
Mi
mayor tiene
nieto,
27
wow,
y los menores tienen 21, creo, o 20.
qué
21.
alegría, qué alegría.
Ya, son muy cariñosos, pero each one is finding its own life.
Tú sabes, es difícil porque los queremos guiar, pero al mismo tiempo respetar.
Sí. El problema es que acá es tan grande el país. Si fuéramos en Uruguay estarían siempre en Montevideo, pero acá en
Cierto,
Nueva York,
cierto,
Washington, St. Louis, están en todos lados.
sí,
Pero así es.
no, tienes razón. Muy difícil.
Ya. ¿Qué edad tiene su hijo?
Mi hijo tiene 28,
Mm. ¿Y por qué no está casado?
todavía no está casado, imagínate.
¿No tiene novia ni nada?
Tiene amistades, pero nadie con el que está fijo.
Ok.
Y ya quisiéramos, como dice mi señora, ya quisiéramos.
Sabe, cuando llegue el momento va a llegar.
Así creo yo también. Y el problema es que a veces es fácil, a veces es difícil cuando ella se me impacienta.
Sí. ¿Qué hace él? ¿Estudia? ¿Trabaja?
Ya terminó, sacó abogacía en UCLA y
Ok.
ahora su proyecto es que está eh, haciendo un negocio de, de bienes y raíces.
Ah, ok.
Y está yendo, lo está sacando adelante, te tengo que ser honesto.
Good. Good.
Toma tiempo, pero
Está bien.
ahí va.
Yo les digo lo mismo a mis nietos y nietas. Digo, hay que casarse. Ah,
Pero parte del problema, creo yo, Mario, es que hoy en día menos énfasis en casarse, en tener familia.
sí. No, y lo que pasa que no hay muchos hidden acá, pero no hay. ¿Me entiende? Walter,
Yeah, I'm gone crazy, yeah.
ah,
Hello.
your camera is not good.
What about mine?
Okay,
You're
perfect.
always good.
Okay, good. So we're on Kufman Bays, 140.
Ernie, afterwards, I'll call you.
Okay,
You know what they found?
no,
I'll call you. I'll let you know.
okay.
Good.
So we're on 142 Kufman Bays. We're talking about a person giving a gift to a fetus. So we say, well, you can't do it because he's not in the world, and you can't do a kinyan with something that doesn't exist. So what was meant in the Mishnah when the guy was giving money to his wife if she gives birth to a son or a daughter is when they're born, but not in utero. So, however, Ravuna if you try to give a gift to an uber and you say it's not a kinyan, because at this point you can't give a kinyan to the uber because the uber doesn't exist. Where do we see this machlok? You try to give something to a fetus, there's no kinyan. If you use the phraseology when it's born, then it works. Ravuna Amar af lo kana. Because at the time now that you're trying to be zoichet to it, he's not kaim in the world. But Rav Sheshes Amar echad zeh ve'echad zeh. Whether you're zoichet to the uber before it's later, or after the later, in either case, kana. Why? On Rav Sheshes Muna Mina Tanya. Ger shemes. You have a convert who dies, and the convert has no family members. And therefore, any Jew who picks up an asset that belonged to a ger acquires it because it's hefker. Ubizbezu Yisrael nechasa. So a Jew went and spent the money. Vishamu, afterwards, they heard sheyesh lo ben. He had a son. Oshaisi ishta muberes, or a pregnant wife. Chayav and lahachzir. They have to return the money. And the mechzira kol v'achakach shamu. If they returned everything, but then later on they heard that the son of the ger had died, Oshe pila ishta, or the wife had a miscarriage. Hichzik b'shniya. Whoever grabbed onto it the second time, kana, because it's hefker again. But Rishoina, the one who grabbed it first, before there was a Yorish, like kana, because there really was a Yorish.
That's presuming that the wife wasn't a Nitgaya. Because if she's a Jewish wife, why can't they grab it from her?
No, we're talking about that it turns out there was a son.
Yeah, no. That's
so really,
there was
or a pregnant wife who would be
a pregnant wife. So the pregnant wife miscarriages. If she's a Jewish wife, why wouldn't? In other words, if he was a Gersh and Nitgayer, and the assumption has to be that the woman wasn't a ger, because if she was a ger, you wouldn't be able to take it.
You don't. The wife doesn't inherit the husband. So even if she was Jewish, if the
husband always leaves something for the wife to mazoinus, come on.
Not Yerusha. There's no Yerusha. So what happens is a ger who dies and who has no family, and an Isha is not considered her family. So it's hefker. And whatever Jew picks it up first is koine it. That's the din. But if she miscarried, there's no Yerusha. So again, lo kana. Now, what's the reason why the Gemara is bringing this? That uber loy kani, that an uber cannot be koine. Lama luhu chzuki. Why did the second party have to be mechazik and get it? Somebody already grabbed the assets the first time, and if the Uber is not koine anything, why wouldn't the first guy continue to own it? So that's the raya for Rav Sheshes, that an Uber can be koine. Amar Abaya, you can't make a proof. We got Yerusha Abame Leah Shiny. We were dealing with cases where a person is trying to give a gift. He's trying to be makna something to the Uber. That's different than a Yerusha. A Yerusha falls to somebody without any maisa that the person does. So that has a certain strength. So even an Uber can be koine it, but it doesn't say that you could be makna to an Uber. Rava Omar, Shiny Hossam, this case by the Ger, the Rifui Marafinan Bidau Mikara. They didn't know for sure if he had yorship. Therefore, their chazaka of the item was not strong. And therefore, that's why a second time they have to come by and do it again. My bidayu. What's the nafkamina between whether it's Yerusha Haba Me'leha or Rifiu Merfinon? Ikbinayu, the nafkamina would be in a case Shashamu Bo Shemeis Velomes. They had heard that the fetus had died, so they were machzik in the nechasim. But really, at that time, he had not died. So at the time, he was alive, so he was yorish. So according to Abai, that an uber can be koina. So there as well, when the first guys were machzik in the assets, they didn't get anything because there was a guy who was alive at the time. But according to Svar of Rava, that it has to do with a weak opinion initially. When they heard that the Uber had died, that the chazaka was a good chazaka. It's a kinyan of It's a weak kinyan, but it is a kinyan. Toshma. Tinik ben yomechad noichel umanchi. A baby, 1 day old, can inherit and can give over assets to somebody else. Implying ben yomechad in, uber lo. An uber is not born, so a day-old child is different than an uber. So we see from here that an uber is not kana. So the Gemara says, "Amar Rav Sheshes." The kavanah of that Mishnah that noichel benichse ein lahanchil laachi min ha'av. The day-old child inherits assets. Let's say the mother died on that day when he was born and the mother dies. So, and there's other brothers, but not from the same mother, from the same father. So this 1 day old child now inherits the assets of his mother. And now if this child dies on day 2, those assets go over to his brothers from the same father, because brothers from the same father inherit each other. But that's only
There's
dafka.
absolutely no reason to.
What was that? But that's dafka ben yom echad. He's got to be at least a day old. Uber, but a fetus whose mother died, low. A fetus cannot inherit his dead mother. My time, no? To whom my inspiration? There's a medical reason for it. Medically, if the mother is dying in childbirth, or let's say not childbirth, there's a fetus in the mother, the child cannot stay alive if the mother dies. The uber will always die first. The woman is dying. The uber is very weak. He's deriving all of his chiyus from the mother. As the mother's life is fading away, the uber dies first. And a ben cannot yorish his imo b'kever. A child cannot inherit his mother while he's in the womb. But a day old can. So the Gemara says, "Lememra to whom my inspiration." Are you sure that when a woman dies, the fetus will always die first? Vahu ubra uparches plus the parchuse. There was a case where a woman died, and we saw the uber. I guess they tried maybe to open up the uterus with a C-section to get the uber out, and they saw that the uber was still shaking, as if it was alive. Amar Baravashi, no. It's like you chop off the tail of a lizard, and the tail is moving. It's just a reflex action. And the same thing with the fetus. Marbreder Rav Yosef Shmei Rava Omar. That which we said, that a child a day old can be noichel or manchil, loy mashemamai bechelik b'choira. So, for example, if there are 3 brothers, One of them is a Bechor. So what do? You divide the assets into 4. The Bechor gets 2 out of the 4. Each son gets one out of the 4. But now if there was 3 brothers and then there's this infant child, so now there's 4 brothers, even a day-old infant converts the shares not into 4, but into 5. The Bechor will get 2/5. Tafka ben yom echad, aval uber lo. The uber is not considered like a brother, like a born brother, that you decrease the amount that the Bechor gets. My time up. It says v'yodu lo am Rachman. It's the children that have been born, and a uber is not born yet. Amar mar brei Rav Yosef b'shvei Rava. Ben shenol lachar misasavi. A ben that is born after the father dies. Eino memay bechelik bechor. The son has to be alive when the father dies in order to make this calculation that now there's only 3 brothers. We divide the assets into 4. Let's say the mother was pregnant when the father died. We don't extend it to 5. We keep it at 4. He doesn't reduce the chelik bechor. My time. When it comes to Yerusha bechor, that he gets pishnayim, it has to be with brothers that have already been born. The haleka. And this uber has not been born yet. Besuru Masnoach. In Surah, there were 2 large yeshiva towns in Bavel in the times of the Amoraim, Surah and Pumbedisa. And Surah and Pumbedisa lasted till the year 1000. Right? The Gaonim, like the Rav Hai Gaon, Rav Shri Gaon, they operated in Surah and Pumbedisa 500 years later, 400 years later. So these cities remained for a long time like the most important Jewish cities in the world until the year 1000, when the Spanish communities began to overtake them, because the Spanish Jewry between the year of 1000, 1300, 1400 grew larger than the community of the remaining Babylonian Jews. So in Surah, they learned that way. But in Pumbedisa, they learned this sugi in a different way. Amar Mar, Rav Yosef Shvei Rav. Not a regular brother, a Bechor that was born after the father died. Eina noitel pishnai. He doesn't get pishnai. My time. Yakir Rachmana. He has to be in the world. Valesa. The Yakir. V'hilchas ha'kochani lishni. Shamar Brei Rav Yosef Shvei Rava. That a tinuk one day is mamayit the chelik b'chora. But if you're born after the death of the father, it doesn't work.
Yomi,
Yes.
if the father dies before the firstborn, that means there are no other sons. So what's the problem? He's going to inherit everything. Unless I'm totally...
No, because he left. It has to do with the following case. The father died, and the wife is carrying twins. And she gave birth to the twins after the death.
Oh, twins.
There would be no din bechora, that you don't divide the assets into 3, and the bechor gets 2 out of the 3, and the remaining twin gets 1 out of the 3.
Yes.
They divide it into 2, and each brother shares it.
Okay.
That's how it would be relevant. Right, Mario?
Yes, I understand that now.
Rav Yitzchak Rav Yochanan. Hamizakil uber loikana. You try to be maknas something to a fetus, the kinyan doesn't work. Ivy in Torah Mishnah Seinu. Our Mishnahs gave these cases where if a male is born, it's $100. If it's a female, it's $200. What's that? A man has his thought on his son, but he can't be mezaka. That's a born son, but not be mezaka to an uber, and certainly for somebody else. That means The mezakir le'uber loikana, I try to give a gift to my friend's fetus. Then it doesn't work. Our Mishnah had to do with his son, because your own son, you are closer to. Amalei Shmuel Rav Chana Bagdasa, Hukaisli Be'asara. Go bring me 10 people. Go bring me 10 people, and I'm going to announce in front of them so that the word will spread. I'm the Zakir Uber Kana. If I try to give a gift to a fetus, it's Kana. The Hilchasa, but the halacha is I'm a Zakir Uber Loi Kana. Doesn't work. Haudu Amar Ledvisu, person said to his wife before she was pregnant, any sons that I am destined to have from you, the assets will belong, I will give my assets to them. Also break Kashisha. So this was a new wife. He had an older son from a different wife. And that this son comes, what's going to be with me? What am I going to yorish? Why wouldn't I get anything? You will get a share with the other brothers that are going to be born in the future. Those are not koine because they're not in the world yet. They're kasi listener because they're not here. So then, why doesn't this oldest son ask, hi, is choylik l'talya? B'mokum banya? Does a younger child have a chelik with the other brothers who are Yorish? Who gets another chelik besides the Yerusha, or less like cholik l'talya? Or he doesn't get any chelik? B'mokum banya. So Rav Avin, Rav Maicha, Rav Yirmiyah the Amri is cholik l'talya. He's allowed to get b'mokum banya. But Rav Avov, Rav Chanina bar Papi, Rav Yitzchak Nafcha the Amri, less cholik l'talya. He doesn't get b'mokum banya. Armor Rav lo the Rav Yirmiyah, hilchasa kavason or hilchasa kavasaychu. Who is the halacha like? Amarlei, pshita the hilchasa kavason. It's like us. The kashish neminaychu. We are older than you. V'lav hilchasa kavasaychu the darga to our son. Halacha is not like you. You're young. Amarlei Ravo responded. Mida b'kashishisha tanya milsa. Is this halacha dependent on who's older? The time has to do with svara. And so the time am I? What's the svara? Go to Ravav and he'll explain it to you. And we'll continue this sugya tomorrow.
At what time tomorrow? Shabbos starts 4:31.
It's very early, huh?
3:30.
Okay.
All right.
It's a short daf.
Say again?
We'll
It's a short
try.
daf. The daf is not too long.
No. 3:30. And then we're not learning Shabbos because it's too early. We'll learn Shabbos night. We'll learn 7 o'clock daf. And then Nach will be at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Saturday. What's the Shabbos?
Okay.
Okay.
Shkoyach.
Koach.
Jorge, Shabbat Shalom, si no lo
Shabbat
veo.
shalom. Si no logro venir,
All
gusto.
right.
Buenas noches.